Never before in all our history have these forces been so united against one candidate as they stand today. They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
The needs of working families in the middle class, not just the billionaire class. We know what's going on. We are paying attention.
Good morning, everybody. Is it really the end? Is it the end of the corporate age? I'm starting to think it's the end of everything, really. But it's Saturday. Let's not get deep quick, right? Oh, that sounded terrible. It's Saturday. We have a special guest here. We have fun stuff going on. The cover is, I don't know. I just thought that was genius. This is like the best marketing ever for fast food, I guess. For Donald McDonald, I just think this marks our presidency in and our government in a very unique way, because we kind of are like the fast food of things. America has become the fast democracy to crash. It's we're cheap. I don't know. That's just how I feel at this point with our government. Anyway, I love that picture, and he was very proud of himself for that, right? He's hamburgers. Not really sure what they're, but it sparked a meme storm. Donald McDonald. They've got a Kafifi flavored hamburger that's paid for by Taco Bell. I like that. This one, hamburgers for everyone. The hamburger is like a hamburger, but it's served cold and presented on a silver platter by an idiot. Right. That. He's the real wimpy. The memes for this. You guys realize there were, and bringing everybody, we are on cocaine with regard to politics at this point, because we will never again have this kind of stuff. We're not going to have people this dumb in office ever again, right? I mean, hopefully we'll wipe ourselves out as a species, but we'll never have people this stupid ever again in office. And so we get the best memes, just the best memes. This one, I love this one. Weapons on the menu, right? Just like a drive-through, the White House, whatever you need. This one, art of the value meal. That's just beautiful. Home of the Whoppers. Simple, sweet, to the point. My personal favorite, just because, you know, the Catholic, the last Happy Meal. I thought that was beautiful. You know, because that's what Jesus would have wanted. Happy meals for everybody except for immigrants, of course. Anyway, let's bring on everybody. We have a bunch of people today, including a new guest. We have Dave Denton with us. Hi, Dave. We got Amos and Christine.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, thank you for joining us. Good morning, everybody. Got a bunch of people watching today. Thank you all for being here. 37 right now. It's climbing up there. Hey, Jeffrey and Schultze and Red Economics, Randy C, Brian. How you doing? Laura Live and Good. When are you going to come back on the show, Laura? I realize you're out there having a nice, fun life now and everything, but it would be nice to see you again. Please come back on. Christine, why did we bring Dave on? What are you guys going to talk about today?
Well, he happened to watch a video I did on my channel regarding a New York Yellow Vest movement that was kind of shady. And so he went and looked into it a little bit more and found some interesting things. So that's why I wanted to bring him on.
All right. Dave, so we're going to talk about yellow vests and what?
So basically what I'm going to get into is how I research people. I think that we're all about getting on the ground, moving on or joining movements and uniting. Well, before we do that, we need to know who we're uniting with and who we are trying to partner with. And in terms of Eric Lang.
No, Jake Lang. Sorry.
Jake Lang, sorry. In terms of Jake Lang, and I do that a lot when I mess up the name, I don't really believe him. So Jake Lang, pardon me for messing up your name, but I saw Christine's video in regards to Jake Lang, and he did an interview with Marcus Conti, which I rewatched yesterday, and he's all over the map. And if you go to my initial slide, he recently started a yellow vest movement. And to me, it's all about the yellow vest for him. There's a picture of him posing in New York City, almost like he's posing for a poster or a statue. And what you have to understand about Marcus Lang is that he owns a modeling agency. So
we're talking Jake Lang, and so this is the slide we're talking about here. So I'm not familiar with any of these people, and let's just back up a second, because what I think we're getting into here is, and I address Marcus Krantz on this show. I don't know what Marcus you're referring to, but Marcus Krantz on this show, and I have had some reservations about the yellow vest movement, Marcus in particular, because Roman Light, who we had on, was rather nationalist, and we're not really sure, are all the yellow vest movements really together in this, because there's no organizational structure, which was another thing. So who's this guy? He's starting a yellow vest movement in New York City. I've never heard of him. Honestly, never heard of the movement in America yet. So tell us more.
Let me shake out the nervousness and get the Jake Lang out, because I do that a lot when it comes to names. Sure. So Jake Lang, he started this yellow vest movement, and in his interview with, I keep on calling him Marcus because of the Conti. He interviewed with Mr. Conti. He mentioned that he had just started this yellow vest movement 2 weeks prior. I think the interview was done right around New Year's Day. So he started this yellow vest movement. He has a company, a modeling company, Social Model Management, I believe it's called. And he's basically organizing a movement around his company. So if you see the picture, he's posing. He's almost modeling, like one of his models in that. He is
picture. Modeling.
Yeah,
but his company's more about marketing than the modeling.
He's a marketing person, and he makes money off of building Instagram accounts. And he markets the fact that, or he advertises the fact that he will build your business around his models and around Instagram accounts, and build your Instagram account. So the very first thing that I did after watching Christine's video, she said, watch out for this guy. So I said, okay, I live on Long Island. He's in New York City. Let me see where he's coming from. And I went to his Yellow Vest Movement page, which will be the next slide, and he has a list of agendas. And to me, it immediately hit red flags. There are a lot of bans. He's banning the Fed. He's getting rid of the Fed. He's got a lot of very generic demands. Liberty for everyone. He wants to eliminate all social programs, which made me very happy, given the fact that I'm in the biggest social program in the United States. I work for the Postal Service. And he wants a global government. And he's basically talking libertarian talking points, but at the same time, he wants to strengthen the Constitution. So I don't really understand that whole part of it. But the big thing that he talked about was, well, there were two products. He was for all GMO products and 100% safe 5G.
And we have a disagreement on what that exactly means. To me, it means I give him the benefit of the doubt, where I could say he wants the 5G safe, where they're pushing it into all these cities, and it's not good for you. Lee Camp did a story on it, how bad it is, how the testing is coming out, that it's not a good thing. It grows tumors in your brain. It's not good. But I don't know if he's going the route. He's not very explanatory. He doesn't explain what he means by that 100% safe GMO. So I kind of have I think hopefully he's thinking that he wants it safe. He doesn't want to put the stuff out there that's right.
There's two ways to think about it, actually. There's either he's saying that 5G is safe, or he is calling for 5G that actually is safe.
I mean,
my angle is that the man builds his business off of Instagram, so it's in his best interest to have higher speed internet. And the advantage to 5G is that the speeds will be exponentially faster. And in a 2016 article, companies were saying that 5G would save battery life, which would be eco-friendly. Now, saving batteries and battery life and not throwing away as many batteries, I don't know if that's going to balance out if 5G causes cancer and 5G radiation causes cancer.
Yeah, so let's back up on that, because we've covered a lot of ground there. And first of all, there's absolutely zero substantial evidence that 5G causes cancer. I was reading through the research materials. So we'll back up on that, because there's zero scientific study that I've seen in any of the research materials that proves anything that 5G causes any kind of problems. As soon as I see a massive group of people show up where it's causing big problems, okay, we'll go there. The issue with 5G,
but it's not implemented yet.
What? Well, I understand reading the materials where we're going to go, but let's not. Honestly, the reason I'm saying that is because if I were going to look at my concerns here with this guy, 5G is the least of my concerns.
Yeah, there's a lot more concern.
Really? I don't give a shit about what you're going to do with Wi-Fi if we're talking about banning socialism, okay? Seriously, we're talking about banning socialism. We're talking about banning political parties, talking about banning central banks. I like the banning central banks.
I like that too. But banning all taxes.
I understand that point.
You know, I mean, he's going
privatizing everything, banning taxes and privatizing everything. That was my big.
Yeah, those are some huge national. You know, those are some scary thoughts there. It seems like what we're seeing, because Roman Light had a different set, right? And it's also like almost like there doesn't seem to be a unified agenda for the Yellow Vest movement, is there?
Kinda.
My thing is are the United States movements propping up different agendas than the French?
Sure looks like it. But are they also? Absolutely. What about the British and the Australia? I mean, like I don't know that it's exclusive to the United States.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
It's okay. That's where I'm going to get into my talking points. Is exactly that.
Oh, okay. Because this is some scary
I will
stuff.
let Dave finish though, but I will get into my talking points, which, yeah.
So
my whole point on the whole thing is, you're absolutely right. There aren't definitive studies, and it may very well be that of any effects from 5G technology, this slide is actually showing a possible conflict of interest. He is building his business and building other people's business through Instagram followers. So this is just showing that he has a vested interest in building 5G technology. And that might very well be why he pushed that. It was just a very odd addition. We're talking about getting rid of all government, and then he throws 5G in there.
All right.
Yeah, where's his mention of climate change?
Hang on, everybody.
and
I got.
bugged me.
Hang on, everybody. We're getting a technical issue here. Can you do us a favor, Dave? Is there any way you can turn down your audio just a bit? I'm being told it's awful loud. There's nothing I can do on my end, everybody. Everybody has independent audio controls here. So,
all right, hold on.
It's a Zoom call. We'll see if we can get it turned down. But you know, I don't have individual controls of anybody's audio. That's the way the system works. Just so you know.
How's that?
Just go ahead and talk for a little bit. And it was just a little distorted.
Okay.
It was over distorted. Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. Any possible side effects or anything of that nature, it may very well take time to build studies. I'm reading reports that 200 doctors are coming out with studies. My point being that whether you're on one side saying that 5G is a good thing because your internet is going to be so much better, and you have on the other side 5G is not good because it's potential health hazards. Why do we need to push it through right now? Let us see both sides and vote on it as in a referendum.
Yeah, didn't they just close off the comment period? Like they didn't have the comment period to push that through.
Right. Now my audio is low. So
no, you're good.
Okay. No, I couldn't hear Christine as well. But back in September, the FCC put forth some things that would keep local mayors and local governments from saying we don't want 5G in our neighborhoods. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, to me, it's more a matter of people should know whether or not there's potential information out there and be able to make the choice. And there's information saying that the FCC is saying, no, we are going to push through 5G. And when they put this out there, when FCC made their decision, that was in September, a week prior, telecommunications companies started pre-orders for 5G. And there was a major push to implement 5G. It's already rolled out in 5 cities. Sacramento, I believe Houston, and there are 3 others. And there was a push for it.
Absolutely.
In terms of all of his other goals, absolutely. They're more serious, but they're more widespread and very broad. How are you going to provide liberty to all citizens?
How do we do it now? We don't. I mean,
no, we don't.
We don't. I don't know. It's interesting. A couple things. Just looking at the conversation in chat, which is very interesting. Sorry about the audio, guys. I don't know what the deal is. We should have looked at it earlier, but you know, all I can say is we're doing the best we can here. If you want,
it was a last minute thing because we had technical issues.
Yeah. If you want fantastic audio, then we should fund Uphill Media like TYT gets funding. But I'm not going to make any deals with Jeffrey Katzenberg to make that happen.
Isn't there
right?
a super chat? There's a super chat.
No, there is. And I was just going to mention that
Really?
both Al Walsky and Dennis McCartney donated this morning. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate that. I still have a bird and a cat in my garage because Uphill Media's run out of a garage. So I just want to let everybody know, you know, we did make an effort to try to put us in an office, to try to get staff, to try to do all those things, to try to make it so that we could not have audio issues. We weren't able to raise the money. And I'm not yelling at anybody. I'm just saying, you know, in the reality of a revolution, this is the way it's at. This is what happens. And you have the number of volunteers you have, and you have what you got, and you do what you can do with it. And if you want better, then you got to fund us like TYT gets funded. You got to fund us like Bernie Sanders gets funded. You know, money is what makes this sound like and look like CNN. And again, you know, it's just a little bit of my frustration coming out there. I've been doing this since 2015, trying to raise money, trying to improve this, trying to do better. And this is where we're at. We got a nice little close-knit family of about 300 people that support us. Okay? We make about $500 a month. Nobody takes a paycheck because that $500 a month goes to cover the only overhead that we can afford, which is to run the show out of my garage. All right. So I just say that because really, if you want us to do more, if you want us to do better, if you want us to sound better, to look better, to have a building that hasn't filled with dead birds and cats, then we need donations. We need the kind of donations that bring us $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month. Right? We operate on $500 a month or less. And so I just want to make that very clear to everybody here. All right. I love the audience. I thank you all for your donations and for being here and for working with us. But to everybody else who's not aware or just dropping by or just sees Uphill Media, we used to be Bernie 2016 TV, and it takes a lot of money to run a media network at the level of TYT. You have to sell your soul, basically. So
we're not doing that.
I'm I just wanted to go there. That's all. That's all.
That actually is a great segue, because if you take a look at Jake Lang's Instagram account and all of his social media, he sold his soul.
Of course he did.
And he's in a bar that actually has neon lights that says the dark side. He's hanging out with a cigar in his mouth next to cars that were very custom made, expensive cars.
Sure.
Hanging out with women in bikinis. He has this persona and talking about making millions for companies, but at the same time, he's going to build a movement for the people.
I see he's co-opting. It's like we've seen with the progressive movement. He's co-opting the yellow vest movement to make a profit.
Yeah, absolutely.
It seems like
because
what you're saying.
Because it's popular right now, so he's getting hits on his websites and everything.
Of course.
That was his point.
Sure. Well, and we're going to see people that are going to do that. Obviously, they're going to try to capitalize on it, and we've seen that. Obviously, we've seen that with the progressive movement. There are people that we see in that I hated and talked about a lot during the early days with Bernie Sanders, because they were out there basically promoting themselves and using the revolution as a prop,
Yeah.
And we still have people doing that today. And but I want to, before we move on, this is an interesting conversation, but I want to bounce back to something that you guys were saying in the chat about 5G. And I think it's interesting. Pat Hacker and several of the people have had some very interesting statements about 5G. One of them is you shouldn't have this discussion without having an engineer on, because we don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
Right.
That, I'm not going to. Okay, good point.
I'm not going to discuss. Yeah, I'm not an expert on anything. I did put a link in the notes about the 5G and the facts about it. I just thought that would be helpful.
Yeah. No.
But I'm not an expert, and I don't claim to be. My issues are totally different. The 5G is suspicious to me, but there's other issues that I want to address.
It's actually an extremely good point, which again leads to the referendum initiated by citizens. Before you make an informed decision, I'm coming from a negotiation standpoint and looking at contracts and looking at people's wording. I am not a scientist by any means. I'm just learning whether it's good, whether it's bad. What I'm calling for is to have experts on. I'd be more than willing to have experts. I'm just learning about it myself.
We're all learning and evolving.
Right. So, not everyone is an engineer. So I am sharing my process, my learning process, and just starting to realize that 5G may or may not be an issue. So I do agree that before we make decisions, yes, absolutely, we need to have those people on. However, it looks as though the decision has already been made and the towers are going to be put up, or the small cells are going to be implemented.
Well, so let's hang on. Let's talk about the small cells, because I was reading about that. And
yeah.
First of all, I agree with you that this should have been more, community broadband in general needs to be a community discussion happening in our town halls and in our states and with our legislatures. We're going to get whatever we get out of the capitalist system, right? We're going to get 5G, not just because 5G requires a lot of different towers. I mean, yes, that's the point of this WiMAX and higher bandwidth things. The other reason is because it's being used. It's now cheaper to drop 1,000 dishes on towers than it is to run cable line. And that's really what this comes down to. So I'm not even sure I would bank the issue on the dangers of 5G. What really seems like in the reports is saying if everybody's got thousands of fucking transmission towers around them with these microwave dishes pushing microwaves all over the fucking place at whatever frequency, we're going to be bombarded with these frequencies, and people are concerned that that is a health risk, right?
Correct. Absolutely correct.
So it's not just 5G.
Okay, but can we get
these towers?
Yeah, can we get back to the movement though?
Well, yeah. We've talked a lot about 5G, which I think is important, but it's just one part of this RIC and the yellow vest movement, and really what you're talking about overall, if I recall, Christine, is the fact that this dude is an imposter, or seems to be a bullshitter. He's a bullshit yellow vest, right?
He is. He's utilizing the movement.
Right.
But
the question is, how do we ever know who's representing anything? There's no corporation that says yellow vest or anything. So there's no spokespeople that are chosen for it, and that is a problem. I mean, how do we stop people from hijacking a movement?
Okay, so I've been following the yellow vest a lot. I've been listening to their discussions. I drive a lot, so I have a lot of time to just put those things in my earphones and listen to those discussions. And I have evolved a lot in my thinking. And the biggest thing that I was wondering is, how does the French get the unity that they have to have all those people in the streets, right? That's the question I had in my head. And after researching and listening, I think I've come up with it. It's getting not just one political group together, but it's getting the left and the right, everybody together. And the reason that is, they're not focusing. I thought it was about the issues. And well, I started thinking it was about the politician, Bernie Sanders. And then I thought it was about the issues because of what they did to Bernie Sanders. And now I am evolved to, it is about the people having the power. And that's what the Yellow Vest movement is overall about. And the little divisions like this New York movement aren't helping the agenda. But you shouldn't just necessarily cut out anyone who's doing it, because that just makes the numbers look bigger. But our message has to be more clear that we're about referendums, about putting the power back into the people. And even if people have the wrong idea, you have to coax them into the right idea. If someone's bringing out a specific agenda, you say that would be a good referendum item to fight for after we get the ability to fight for referendums.
Right. Which is why I brought up that one specific example in the first place, because when you look at Mr. Lang's agenda, there are a lot of very general
and specifics,
and
really weird specifics.
The most specific one that I and another one was take all fluoride out of the water. Now, again, I'm not going to talk about whether it's bad, because, again, I'm not a scientist. I know a few people who are more expert at water science than I am, way more, which is why we would have
push people to do the referendums. We could do all the research for that. But the biggest problem we have right now is climate change, climate catastrophe. Like it's in our face. And that's why there's a really similar movement to the RIC, and that's the Extinction Rebellion. They're almost identical, except for the Extinction Rebellion is focusing more on climate. Like that is their big number one, but they're also for the referendums and just pulling people together of all walks of life. But they do have the climate focus, which I love. And they also go off of the redneck. I don't know who's familiar with what happened in West Virginia with the coal mine workers and the red scarves. That's where the redneck came from, fighting for their rights. So the Extinction Rebellion uses a green handkerchief instead to show solidarity.
That's cool.
So yeah, because it's about like the worker, but it also signifies the worker fighting and yeah. Anyway, I think those two are really good, and I like the way it unifies them. That's how the French got unified, is by not dividing people by individual issues, by politicians. They're working together to put the power back into the people, and not only have referendums, but have revocations. If a politician is not doing what they're saying that they were going to do, or working for the people in their interest, you can get them out. You can vote to get them out. But the Extinction Rebellion has a slightly different concept, where they have a citizen, what's it called? Citizens Assembly, that's kind of works like a juror system. It's just people randomly picked, like juries are picked to represent in an assembly and work out issues. I'm still getting myself familiar with it, but it sounds pretty interesting to look into more. But yeah, we're all evolving and learning and at different levels. But the thing is not to divide us on specific issues. The thing is to get the power back into the hands of the people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you guys for this report. Maybe we can learn more about other aspects of Yellow Vests besides Jake. And
the Extinction Rebellion.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. You just drop that name drop at the end there, Extinction Rebellion.
Sorry.
Who are they? We don't even have a slide here. Just like bam. And
sorry,
and that's a good reference.
There's a link though.
It's a good reference with the rednecks, because that was twisted, but over time, right? That back then it didn't mean derogatory term.
Yeah, but now it does mean. Right. But I've always been a proud redneck, and I didn't even know where it came from. I was kind of a rebel, and a country girl, and not cityfied. So I kind of proudly took on the name redneck, and I'm now even more proud. I know that I know where it came from.
Well, I always thought it was from a bad tan, because
there you go. Yeah.
Farmers.
That's right.
The farmer tan.
That's what I thought. Growing up in
workers too. Yeah. Not in the coal mines though. They had the kerchiefs. Farmers had the redneck.
Man, that was interesting. Well, thank you both. Dave, I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate your information. Hopefully next time we'll do a little bit more with the audio. That's my fault, everybody. We'll get that fixed, and really appreciate you coming on and taking your time to research what's going on there.
Hey, I appreciate being on. My whole point is we as a country have to learn to research, even if I'm not an expert at something. I have a sense of, hey, wait a minute, something's not right. Maybe we should research this before everything gets implemented, and call for more information before you just start.
And more comment period. They got rid of the comment period. That's a thing Trump did with the getting rid of the regulations.
Do those matter? It's not like they listened to our comments last time anyway. They claimed the Russians added added 2,000 fake ones. So it's all those.
That's why we need referendums in our Constitution.
And one more quick point. I have been involved with the Unity for J movement for many, many months, and I have done some basic research on the WikiLeaks documents, looking through the WikiLeaks documents, and I've seen a lot of the infrastructure, the propaganda infrastructure, being marketing guys and PR guys and people behind the scenes driving a message. So you just have to be careful and think critically and do your own research and learn how to research, and not inject your own agenda. Just follow the information where it goes, and listen to people smarter than you, and
don't start from your conclusion.
Don't go there. There's nobody there smarter than me. Jesus.
Don't work back from your conclusion. Be open-minded and open to new.
Open-minded.
Well, it's just, just wait, because the Guardian eventually will produce sources and proof of its smear article about Assange. I mean, we're still waiting for that.
Yeah,
still
we're waiting.
Anyway, thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.
That's a whole nother conversation. I could have.
It could have. No, that's just a problem with media, because the Guardian, on the one hand, puts out a complete trash piece of shit smear article with zero evidence, zero proof, zero sources, and then doesn't do anything to back it. This is weeks ago, right? Still, no other papers picked it up. At the same time, I'm using the Guardian to reference climate crisis articles, because the Guardian isn't just one writer. Let's all remember that none of these entities are one writer. We really have to base it on the individual writing the information and where it's being put out. The Guardian is a total corporate-owned shit rag. But that doesn't mean good journalism doesn't happen there. Right? That's the problem with all these entities, right? Shep Smith on Fox News. Fox News, the most garbage of news in the whole fucking world. Shep Smith has the most clear statement live on air saying climate change is real and it is caused by human activity. That's like the most... See what I'm saying? It's really confusing when you have MSM like working both sides of the game here. So... It's
that's why we got to unify with with all the small channels, with people who are kind of focusing on their own issue and doing all the research and pulling everybody together, having more of a unified message between all the small channels. Between all the small channels, we got to over amplify and be bigger than the corporate media.
We do.
The thing that drives me crazy about that whole thing, and the thing that drives me crazy about smears, is that now WikiLeaks is fighting back and saying, wait a minute, you as journalists have a responsibility to tell the truth. You are slandering and we are going to threaten to sue. And then an article came out, oh well, now WikiLeaks is limiting free speech. Slander is not free speech.
Right.
You're lying about someone. So you slander someone or you smear someone, they speak against it, and then they are criticized for limiting free speech. That kind of thing drives me nuts. So,
yeah,
okay, I'm done.
Agree. All right, thank you so much. Appreciate having you both on. We're going to cut over to Amos, who's got where are we going, Amos? You're going to talk about other stuff.
I got a bunch of topics here.
All right.
Starting with the new Wheeler, Andrew Wheeler, who is a new appointee for the EPA by Trump administration, and he got surprised in the confirmation hearings when Bernie Sanders stepped in and asked him a bunch of questions. There's a little bit of a video there to go with that. Basically, this guy has rejected the idea of climate change and is now going to head the EPA, which is supposed to protect us.
No.
And encourage the rest of the world to do so.
It's the Establishment Protection Agency. I don't know what you thought it was.
Well, yeah, you have that video.
Well,
it's very short.
Video. I grabbed one video. Ocasio-Cortez. I didn't see a video for the other thing.
There is one for right above for EPA nominee Andrew Wheeler.
Okay. Well, I don't have it, so keep talking.
Okay. Well, okay.
It was good.
It's gonna be.
It was good. Look it up.
Basically, he got another orifice rip. So,
are we playing the whole video? You want to play the whole 5 minutes?
It's up to you how much you want to play.
Okay, that's a lot of content. Let's talk about that. We can run a little bit of it if you want. Hang on. There. So this is Bernie ripping him?
Yes.
Well, that's always good to. It's always good to see, to listen to. Here, Bernie ripping him.
Thank you for being with us, Mr. Wheeler. Mr. Wheeler, President Trump has indicated his belief that climate change is a hoax, perhaps perpetrated by the Chinese. Do you agree?
Well, I believe that climate change is real, and I believe that man has an impact on it. And
the President has said that climate change is a hoax. Do you agree with him?
I've not used the hoax word myself.
I see. Leading scientists around the world, looking at many, many hundreds of reports, have indicated that we have 12 years in order to stop the worst impacts of climate change. And what they are talking about are rising sea levels, more drought, more extreme weather disturbances, more wildfires, more migrations of people. Do you agree with the scientific community that climate change is a global crisis that must be addressed in an aggressive way?
I believe that climate change is a global issue that must be addressed globally, No one country can.
That wasn't my question, sir. I don't have a lot of time, and I'd appreciate if you're answering the questions. Scientific community has said that climate change is one of the great crises facing our planet. And if there is not unprecedented action to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to sustainable energy and energy efficiency, there will be irreparable damage in the United States and in virtually every country on Earth. Do you agree with the scientific community?
I would not call it the greatest crisis, no, sir. I consider it a huge issue that has to be addressed globally.
Well, what you are, I found it interesting, Mr. Wheeler. You are the nominee to be head of the Environmental Protection Agency. You just, in your opening statement, did not mention the word climate change. Now, how does it happen that the nominee to be head of the Environmental Protection Agency does not mention the words climate change at a time when the scientific community thinks that climate change is the great environmental crisis facing this planet? Should the American people have confidence that you...
I know the answer. Can I answer this one, please? This is a good video. But the answer is, when your EPA is controlled by a coal baron, it really doesn't fucking matter. Right?
Right.
Is that the answer, Amos?
Yes, of course. Yeah. sadly, this is not going to stop him. But it's good to show a little bit of backbone here on this. All right. Well,
so Bernie reamed him. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, there was, if you guys paid attention this week, AOC made the headlines again. Republicans and conservatives are freaking out about her because basically she has a bigger social media exposure than Trump. She has more Twitter followers. She has more Twitter followers than Nancy and Schumer combined, I believe. So she's getting a lot of play, and they're freaking out. They're making things up to ridicule her. She went on a Mitch hunt this week to look for Senator Mitch McConnell and deliver him a letter that asked him to put the vote for re-voting on the budget on the floor. He's been hiding. He's not been showing his face anywhere. And she's made that point by shooting video, running around Congress. You have a little bit of a clip there, I believe.
Sure do. I did have that one loaded up because there was a timestamp in it. So, yeah, give me a second here, Amos. One moment. This is a short one, though, right? You didn't want me starting this from the beginning, did you?
Yep.
Yeah, we're just, hang on. There you go.
Not in the cloakroom, he's not in the Capitol, he's not in the Russell Building, he's not in the floor of the Senate, and 800,000 people don't have their paychecks. So where's Mitch?
Where's Mitch? He wasn't on the Senate floor, he wasn't in the cloakroom, he wasn't in any of his offices. There's one more place.
All right, yeah.
So basically, she tweeted it with "Where's Mitch?" hashtag. It got a lot of response, and conservatives were jumping on it, saying that she was looking for him in the wrong building because she happened to shoot that little clip from one of the buildings, not the main area where he would be expected to be, which is the majority leader's office. The issue is, though, that there's a hidden office, and there's a link that's going to be in the notes about this. He has a secret hideout space, which is called Mitch McConnell's hideout. So that's a good reason not to have found him. Hopefully, this is going to be coming down to a close, but this whole wall thing, Trump's wall, and the shutdown that occurred because of it is hitting Native Americans especially hard. They're bearing a heavy brunt because of that, and partly because all of the funds that are supposed to be delivered to them by the federal government based on the contract after the peace treaty with the Native Americans from the 1900s, and is right now not getting through. And
Oh, that's sick.
They depend on healthcare, everything, all their services depend on that rent, so to speak, that the U.S. Government is supposed to provide to these tribes.
Oh man!
And if that's not enough, there are tribes that are on the border that are objecting to the wall because it's going to go through their territory. They're both on the southern end of the southern side of the border and the northern part, which is unfortunate for them because that would make it very troublesome for their communities.
Oh, it makes me sick.
Yeah,
that makes
it's very
sick.
sad. On another note, there's this magazine called the Lancet Health Magazine has published a 3-year study done by 37 scientists from 16 countries to basically make a recommendation for a planetary diet. And their main focus was to center around health. What is the most healthiest diet? But
bacon?
It turned out they also did calculations of how it would impact the climate, and it turns out that it would be much better for the environment because half of the methane and carbon emissions are produced by livestock and by meat production industry, and cutting that, according to their recommendations, they would suggest cutting the average meat consumption to half, which in it depends on the country you're in. It may be more than a half. For example, North America eats 6.5 times the recommended amount of red meat. So it would be like basically 1 meal a week of meat. And if you saw that little image from before, they were showing what a meat consumption per day should be if you would to follow those health regulations.
All right. Well,
I do that. I'm good.
Well, I just want to drop in there and say that this used to be what was called the Sunday roast. Right?
Yes.
And you did have one large meat meal a week, and that was it. And apparently Americans eat hamburger 3 times a week on average. I don't know of any. I mean, nobody around me eats that much. It must be like mid-America football playing America. I don't eat 3. That's a lot of meat, you know.
My husband used to eat it every single day.
That's insane.
It is insane. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, we're in a society that's heavily dependent on meat, and it's funny because in sub-Saharan Africa, that's actually. They have a similar problem. Their problem is that they're eating 7.5 times the recommended amount of starchy foods, such as potatoes and cassava.
Eating what they have.
So different parts of the world have kind of deviated from their original diets significantly, which is causing huge health problems.
Sure. Hey, real quick, Dave, if you want to jump in, you're more than welcome to. And if you want to take off, you can too. You don't have to hang out either. So it's whatever you want to do.
Okay.
Just let you know.
Well, I have to say that I could eat up to 3 burgers a week.
Wow.
And just make up that. Yep. There are a lot of pre-made burgers out there that, and I'm not talking about fast food burgers either. I think that I thought that I was improving my diet by making my own hamburgers instead of going to Burger King and McDonald's.
Well, that's a step. I'll go with that. But,
yeah,
you know, I mean, and I thought the same thing. It just a note. I'll remind everybody, and I know Brian Cheeseman's out there in the audience, but you know, the wife and I went to eating Beyond Burgers. You know, that doesn't mean I still don't buy a nice steak every once in a while, or, you know, get some chicken to make, you know, a casserole. But you know, and yeah, if you're not economically able, buying healthily raised or friendly raised, whatever you want to call it, meat is way the fuck more expensive. Way more expensive. Buying
not where we live though.
Beyond,
it's actually cheaper because we have a small meat store that comes from local farmers. So and they're pasture raised. They're not stuck in the feedlots and all that. They go right from pasture to processing, which I hate to even think about because I love animals and I have a really hard time if I focus on the fact that it's a cow. But, I'm trying to get off of that. So once a week is about all I can handle meat. And it's not always.
I have to say, in where I'm at, probably the issue is processed deli meat and processed ham and processed turkey and processed chicken. That's probably because we're the land of the deli. So
don't do that. That's the worst. That's the worst.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Tell the East Coast.
But what's nice about these recommendations is that they're not being absolutist.
No, they're
not. They're not saying you should eat vegetarian or vegan diet. They're calling it flexitarianism. And I think I misspelled it there. It's supposed to be flexitarianism.
Yeah. Never happens.
The BBC has put out an interesting link, and it's going to be in the notes as well. They have an food choice calculator. Food choice impact calculator, which shows you how much impact you have if you eat certain foods and how much of it you eat. And they also explain much more about the diet and what the recommendations are. So that's a good site to visit. In compared to that, and that's where I also touched up on that Trump event that you alluded to in the beginning. Trump had this banquet for a sports team, and instead of providing
that
them
was hilarious.
cooked food from the White House because of the shutdown, he ordered in. But what he ordered in was fast food, and you can see that between the candelabras there with the candles. It's all laid out nicely.
It's just
lighting fancy candles and serving fast food.
I'm sure these guys were kind of disappointed to have a Mac burger in the White House, but then again, I understand that Trump paid for it on his own because of the shutdown. He had to foot the bill, and so I don't have a problem with that per se. But it's just
no, you don't have a problem with that per se. He also owns a restaurant in D.C., and the cheap fucker could have paid for steaks for all of them from his restaurant, Mr. Billionaire.
I don't think he's as rich as it is. If he was, I don't think he would be resorting to ordering fast food.
As a unit rep, I have to say, did he keep his receipts? Maybe he'll be able to get reimbursed.
There you go.
Once the government.
He's been reimbursed a lot by the American taxpayer, I feel, for an awful lot of things. If you really want to feel good about it all, watch somebody dropped a Family Guy video where Peter has a fight with Trump on the White House lawn, and it starts because he calls him cash poor. Says you're cash poor. It's like, say it again. You guys need to watch that. I don't feel good because
I gotta watch that.
Trump is. I mean, bottom line is he has no real liquid funds. He's just stretched to the max. He's borrowed money from everybody around the fucking world to prop his ass up, and now he's losing his people. So,
so we should give him a little bit of a break about ordering cheap. But
we should. You know he's going to send the bill to the taxpayer. You know we're going to get that bill.
He called it great American food, which kind of raised the eyebrows of a lot of people watching this, because I don't can make that claim really in today's age, when we understand the impacts of that type of food on one's health. And I loved some of the comments and memes. You shared some memes, and I have some as well.
Oh,
there.
do you? Beautiful. Yeah.
You know, I got to say this one thing. I respect the restaurant owners that have given free food to the government workers who are not currently working and not being paid, way more than Donald Trump for giving free White Castle.
But you're getting paid?
I'm getting paid because I am a postal worker, and the United States Postal Service is not affected by the government shutdown. That's one perk that we have of many.
The Postal Service.
I am not affected by the shutdown.
That's good. But air traffic controllers, you know,
correct.
Everything else.
FDA workers,
your meat, your food.
800,000. The last time I heard, the Postal Service had around 850 to 900,000 workers. We're talking 800,000 government workers currently not being paid.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
And that money is coming directly out of our economy. We're not getting that money circulating in the economy for businesses.
Right.
So that's devastating. It really is going to be devastating.
Yeah. It's not working out well.
No.
Longer it goes, I hope the more Republicans will get rid of, honestly, and replace them with worthless Democrats like Doug Jones. Yay.
Yeah, politicians aren't going to save us.
No.
They're not
a little green in there every once in a while. Why not?
Sure, and then they'll get picked on and told they cost us our democracy.
Exactly.
So what's this one here? So quotes.
There's some quotes I picked from the Twitter. A picture is worth 1 billion calories, said Dave Wyman. Real Donald Trump
I love it.
thinks this picture makes him look like a benevolent man of the people, when really it looks like the cover of a staff training manual. Please, one is a symbol of grace and dignity and is respected across America. The other is the White House. That was in regards to the White Castle, comparing the White House to White Castle.
Yeah, it's beautiful. He thinks the Burger King is his White Castle. He does. I love the names though. He's the real hamburger. Burger.
I love that.
Burger.
Burglar.
Don't even know what that is.
It's an outcry to think that just before him, Michelle was in the White House, promoting exactly the opposite diet and approach to health.
I love this picture.
Such a big contrast.
I love this picture, not just because it does spin one narrative. Yes, Michelle Obama was the healthier White House eater, but both White Houses have dropped a lot of bombs. Let's just not forget that. All right.
Yes, please let's not forget that. Please don't forget that.
Forget the calorie bombs. Just drone them instead. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, let's just go there. Both serving toxic problems. But you're right. Michelle Obama did a much better job working for the school lunch program and getting nutrition going on and all that kind of stuff. The things you expect out of a president and their partner, that kind of stuff. Promoting McDonald's and fast food, though, seems to be more targeted towards Trump's base. Would you not? Would you not agree?
It is.
And it's funny because there is, and that's another link there that I added. There's been studies about how food choice or where you buy or eat your food is correlating to how you vote.
Of course.
Who do you think is the Whole Foods voter, for example?
That would be the progressives. I know.
Well, are you sure it's Whole Foods isn't like the rich, the I'm still withering crowd?
Kind of rich. We're more Trader Joe.
Yeah, that's pretty expensive.
Trader Joe's is not as expensive as Whole Foods, but I think
it's better.
The awareness, the awareness of organic foods and stuff like that kind of correlates with liberal voters, and there's a kind of like an ironic thing in here, and that's kind of like similar to the Darwin Awards. If the conservative voter chooses to eat unhealthy, there'll be more liberal ones.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like telling all the MAGAs to please go buy beachfront property, particularly in Florida, because it's going to be cheaper soon. And, you know, I mean, they want beachfront. They've always wanted beachfront. And now with American freedom and thanks to Trump's amazing economy, they can afford beachfront, you know. You may not be able to get it insured, but that's okay. You know? Go live on the beach, Margus, please. So, still called, what do you, food called, oh, still called whole paycheck.
It is called whole paycheck. My daughter
paycheck.
goes there all the time and spends the whole paycheck on it.
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but the like Safeway around me has totally tried to make themselves look like Whole Foods.
Did they?
Yeah,
We don't have Safeway anymore. We had when I was growing up, but we haven't had them for like 20 years.
Oh, it's the closest thing to me, and the closest thing in town, because I live out of town, right? So I go into town every 3-4 days for supplies, and I go to the Safeway country store and get
We
myself.
have Associated Foods, so they're like little small chains, like franchise, not
That's
franchises,
cool.
but yeah, more like co-ops kind of thing.
I should be buying from the farmers market and all those places, which is all around me, but I'm lazy and I go to
pushed
Safeway.
to get a farmers market here. They didn't have one when we moved out here. They have one now.
They should. They should.
That was one of my initiatives when I first moved to this town. It was a great place for it. There's a lot of farmers, so we just didn't have a place to get together and buy the farmers' goods, and they were just tossing zucchinis in everyone's car because just getting rid of it.
That's a mental image that I want to see. I want to see. Amos, thank you for your report on the stupidity of Donald Trump and the health of our White House, which is, you know, not healthy in so many ways, mentally, physically, emotionally. It's just awful.
Thanks, Amos.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you all for being here. It's been a weird day, and I'm just going to wrap up with a few things, just to let you know what's going on. Thank you, everybody who's been here in the audience. I really appreciate that. There's 62 of you watching right now. Thank you so much. We were supposed to have Nomiki Const this Tuesday, and that's not going to happen again because stupid ballot stuff that has to do with democracy and crap that she has to do that is apparently more important than coming onto our show and
maybe you can have her when I can actually see it, because that would not happen for me. So
well, you know, it's just you know, we expect you to take off work to watch our show. I don't know what's anyway.
My boss would have a disagreement with that.
Of course, it's national strike to watch UHM. Anyway, it's not going to happen on Tuesday. We've got to figure out when, but Nomiki has like actual government-y things to do and whatever. So Amos is going to rebook, and I'll let you know when that happens. To the person on Twitter who said, "Are you sure she's going to be there?" And I said, "Absolutely, unless Russia interferes." I guess Russia interfered.
I saw that.
So, God,
Russia interfered. Russia interfered.
Or unless she eats a bad hamburger at the White House.
That could have been it too. There you go. So I don't know. We'll eventually have her on. It doesn't really matter. We're just having her on for fun anyway. And Pat Cody will be there when we finally figure it out. And hopefully she wins. Her election is on February 26th. It's a special weird one going on, right? To elect the public advocate in New York City. There's links in the description of video. If you live in New York City, if you want to help her out, volunteer, donate, please go do that. That's the reason we're having her on. It's not, you know, that and ratings. Yeah. So, anyway.
Ratings.
Ratings.
So we can push the rest of our messages. So
yeah,
ratings are good.
We need ratings. And a reminder to everybody that Uphill Media still does things for the revolution. And if you're looking at running a candidate or being a candidate for 2020, we do candidate interviews, we do opposition research, we do tactical media, and live events. But it requires coordination with you. So reach out to us, info@uphillmedia.org, if you want to work with us on any of that stuff. I got in contact with the Portland DSA. They responded. That's great. Haven't heard anything back from Bernie PDX because Bernie PDX never talks to anybody as far as I can tell. And I've reached out to Our Revolution, so we'll see what happens. But locally, West Coast, really anywhere, we're willing to help your candidates. And we've got a new process now for doing quick interviews. They're going to be pre-recorded so that we can just get them out. Do opposition research for you, all sorts of stuff, but it requires working together and promoting each other. And so here we are. Hope we can hear from you this time. Remember, we function on a really, really incredibly high budget of $500 a month. And if you can help us meet that goal every month, donate.uphillmedia.org. That would be amazing. Thank you so much. What else did I drop in here? I was just going to cover some really quick stuff about climate because Marcus and I are working on a new climate show, and it's going to be podcast centric, but it's going to be partially live, partially pre-recorded. It's just this weird format. Anyway, the point being, there's a lot of stuff going on with the climate crisis that I think we need to stay updated on every day, not just 5G. Let me tell you. So, California, PG&E. This is the first sign of the big collapse with regard to corporate entities. All right. PG&E filed for bankruptcy, and it looks like they're going to need to be owned by the state of California here because they've been falsifying records for years. They can't afford to replace everything that got destroyed in the fires. Okay. So that's the first company that's basically done. They're done. Right? This is going to happen with insurance companies. This is going to happen with other utilities. This is going to happen as climate change destroys these entities that have been thriving off short gains and have done nothing to prepare for climate change. All of the oil rigs in the ocean right now, all of the wells across our land, none of these things are really secured for climate change. All of the refineries that basically we haven't built a new refinery since the 50s. None of these are secure. Anacortes blew up, what was it, a couple years ago? Just because it's a refinery. Imagine what an earthquake up in Anacortes would do now. Right? Excuse me. So that's just something to look at. The fact that we're going to have a lot of companies going under. And then we're going to have states that are going to have to pick up the bill. That means us. And then we're going to have to take them over, which means, oh, God, no, the state runs this fucking company. And then we're going to have to deal with corrupt people in each state. They're going to make that company shit. So just get ready for that in the coming climate change. This one is out of The Guardian. And remember I said The Guardian, you know, while they make up shit about Julian Assange, they also occasionally put out articles that are completely true. This one is funny because The Guardian has been putting out stuff about how we need to eat less meat and it's the only way to save humanity. And, you know, my God, why can't you people use less energy at home? No mention of the fossil fuel industry, no mention of Exxon, no mention of the actual 1% that is the biggest part of the problem until this article, which immediately says immediate fossil fuel phase out could arrest climate change. Well, no fucking shit.
Okay. In the meantime, Utah is pumping it up and trying to fight for more.
Of course. But, like, this isn't new news. Al Gore told us this in 2006. Exxon figured this out in 1979. Okay? It's like, shocking news. If we stop using fossil fuels, we might survive. It's just irritating. Don't you think it's irritating?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree. Yes.
Bernie claimed, or PG&E claimed bankruptcy to hide assets. Probably, says Gillette. Of course, it's what companies do. Companies have no interest in human survival, which is kind of funny. You know what I mean? Like, companies are like, whoever's left will profit off them. If it's 5 people, great. If it's 10 people, great. You know, they don't care. The 1% doesn't care either, right? They're building. I'm doing research on a story, you know, a big piece that I'm working on about climate change and updates. Just one example. Silicon Valley billionaires purchased 250-ton bunkers that are now buried in New Zealand. And that's where they're going to go when climate gets too bad. I'm thinking plane flight to New Zealand, some special weapons, and let's go shoot us some people in a box. Right? Because that's basically what they're doing, is setting themselves up in a fucking tomb somewhere. Mm-hmm. But all the billionaires are doing this. They think they're going to ride out the climate crisis, and whoever's left is going to enjoy being the king of their particular territory in the post-apocalyptic world. That's crazy. That's the truth. You can say I'm crazy. Okay. Yeah.
Not saying you're crazy. I'm saying I believe it, and that is crazy that they can have that mentality and not have a stitch of concern about or empathy for anybody else.
Yeah.
That's just psychotic.
It is.
It's psychotic.
It's human beings.
Mm-hmm.
It's human beings. Anyway, that's my rant. That's all I got. I just want to go
I
off
like
on
it.
that.
I like your rant, and I agree.
Thank you all. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Amos. Thank you, Christine, for being here. Appreciate it. Where's the 4x? There's the 4x. Bam. There's everybody.
Dave, we can't see half your face.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
There you go.
There we go.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And special, if Stevie's still here, we need to get her on. She is awesome from West Virginia. She's really, really good.
Is she in the chat?
She was in the chat. You mentioned her. Redneck Economics.
Oh, Redneck Economics. Hi there. I didn't know real name. Thank you.
Yeah, she should be on your show. Just saying.
Sure. Hey, Al, thank you for that $10. And thank you, everybody, for putting up with my bitching about that, too. Occasionally I get a little butt hurt. And I'm like, fuck this shit. So you do this
we
for
all
long.
do.
Thanks to Uphill Media for getting me 1 new subscriber on YouTube.
Yay, there you go.
Really? That quick, huh? Awesome.
Yeah. I guarantee you that we lost one today, because that's usually what happens. So. Sorry we lost one. Thank you all for being here. We're going to get out of here with some inspirational music. I think it was Mitzi Rusk who dropped this. She's somebody who's been with us for quite some time as a volunteer, and she does good work out there in Texas. And this is Bernie Sanders is my name. This is just the what's this called? The Hamilton. Bernie Sanders Hamilton redo. And it's kind of cool. This is I think it's from 2016, so it's really about Hillary basically screwing everybody. But I've not seen the musical Hamilton. Regardless, I found this to be, inspiring and fun to listen to. We've all talked a little bit about Bernie running in 2020 and what's going to happen and blah, blah, blah. And I just want to remind everybody that the biggest lesson I think we've learned from 2016 is that Bernie is one guy, and he's not going to be able to do shit if he doesn't have an army of people to back him up. And that's people on the street and people in government, right? So let's remember as we head into 2020 that we have to support everybody in the movement, every candidate that is willing to support the issues that speak to us, right? And not support just a party because it's a party, and not support only Bernie because he's only Bernie. We have to put people around Bernie that are going to work with him and do his thing. And if Bernie isn't the choice, if Bernie says, go Warren, go whatever, just remember that the overall goal is our survival. Okay. Much as I like Bernie Sanders, I just want to survive. If Elizabeth Warren going to make that happen, cool. All right, I don't care. Let's just get some decent people in office, all right? Because neither Bernie or Warren is going to do shit without good people. So thank you all for being here. Appreciate all of your love and kindness and the fact that you're willing to just be here and keep our little family going. And just as a personal note for me, battling with depression and dealing with the horrors of what we see every day, you guys keep me here. So thank you. And we'll see you next Saturday, and maybe sooner if we can get the Russians to stop interfering with Nomiki's schedule. So, see y'all later.
How does an old man, 2 wives, 1 baby mama get to senator? Try and run against me. My name is Hillary. These big banks, they've got me. You're too blind to see, son. You're done. It's a wrap. I've won.
The penniless, socialist, liberalist, pragmatist got a lot farther by having no dollars, by staying a hard baller, by being a truth caller. By 18, had started at his future alma mater.
And every day while banks were being covers and funders away in Vermont, he wrestled to put some dough up. Inside he was craving for reason to run amok of. The Brooklynite was itching to seek, take, and prosper.
2 blonde hurricanes appeared and increased our nation's fear. This man saw the future being ruined through the years. He took a chance for change, put together his campaign, got up on the stage and pointed socialist arrows and took aim.
So the message got out. They said this juice off this cue. Man, you wanna give away tuition so the poor can change position. Give them education so they'll improve their situation. Ain't gonna happen unless they know your name. What's your name, man?
Bernie Sanders. My name is Bernie Sanders. And there's a future that I want to make for you and me, for you and me.
We know his heart's pure, and he's working till the break of dawn. Show the nation now there's someone they can lean on. A future we can all believe in.
America can do it, we just need to push through it.
He's getting ready for the house, the seat's not too big for him. The nation's yelling, please change the tide, with something new inside our voices saying, need some change, need some change, need some change. Starting making moves, legislate, and paving the way for change.
The nation would have been nothing without the Clinton Foundation. It would have been dead and desolate without my banking cooperation. I started twisting and rolling and turning the Senate round. I would have tricked all of you fools if Bernie hadn't shine a light on it. I could have kept going and flowing, bringing the nation to a heel. See the future, see me now as I stand with big business and banks on this proud new land. And corporate America, you'll succeed.
In corporate America, you'll succeed. In corporate America, you'll succeed. In corporate America, you'll succeed. In corporate America,
you and me.
Bernie Sanders, Bernie Sanders. We are running to the polls for you. Running to the polls. We make this revolution now. Together we can change the world.
Can drop them. Another Brooklynite coming up from the bottom.
The Democrats mess with his rep, the people now we got him. We ride with him. Me, I follow him.
Me, I vote for him.
I love him.
And me, I'm the fool who can't beat him.
There's a big change that has to come, and we can't wait.
What's your name, man?